What's up, Edison duelists? I'm gonna be reacting to 25 underrated cards in Edison format. This video is about 5 months old. Back to an old video basically creates a little bit of a time capsule to see where these cards have ended up, because a lot of these cards on this list have been experimented with. I haven't pre-watched this. I watched a good 10 minutes up to like Reinforced Truth, which is another card that has been explored. But a couple, you know me, if you've been on this channel, I'm a little bit of a contrarian. So I will say is I do know a little bit of what Team Starlight is and how they do their thing. They're a team of 3 or multiple people, whatever. But I know a couple of fun facts. I know that Team Starlight is basically made by the Macro Show, and if you know me, I'm pretty pro gatekeeping. But obviously, there's, if you think about it, Team Starlight kind of respects that in a way, because, or I guess the Macro Show, he made a separate channel just for Edison for my Yugioh. Now that you could argue that maybe he just didn't want to make ad because that's not his content. He obviously makes very much farming, like the big 3 popular games. It's very good at farming. Casual viewer. Edison format is a little more competitive. Completely different fan bases from the typical shooter online team player games. It's a 1v1 game. Obviously, we don't have a 2v2 mode, but the whole gatekeeping thing. The Macro Show, technically, I have my eye on it. You know what I'm saying? He's been around. I think he gets it. He's been around since early 2023, even probably before me, so I can't really. He's been in the game. He's been. I remember facing him on a dueling book a long time ago. He was playing Geminis, and I was scared of Torrentials, so I didn't go for game. Misplayed, I lost against him. I was playing my tomato deck, tomato oppression. Yeah, that was a fun game. He seems pretty integrated in the community, but basically just gonna talk about cards, see where they've ended up on the Edison meta. I haven't seen this video before, so let's get it popping.
What's up, Team Starlight? Today we have 25 underrated cards in Edison format.
I will say the Macro Show is a bit of, I'm not sure, but he's very much a big believer in underrated cards. For example, Common Charity. That's one he advocated for. A couple other trap cards. Problem is obviously, I guess another point of this video is that I'm going to be commenting about why these cards have not seen play and potentially how they could see play, potentially in tournaments or just on DBs or fun decks. Obviously, my problem with Common Charity is that, or my problem with cards that basically mimic effects that are good but have like pseudo restrictions in them. Usually the big problem with those cards are the traps, and I guess we'll see if
cards that aren't
what I'm saying even comes to fruition, but we'll see.
Unknown cards. Some of these cards have shown up in side decks or in just weird decks that have topped here and there. But the majority of these cards are either just super unexplored or very underrated and should maybe see some more play in the future. Today we have the entire team here to...
I'm actually unsure. I know Team Starlight goes to a lot of tournaments, and I did see them at RBT Denver. Funny, actually, I'll make fun of them a little bit here. But their thumbnail, whatchamacallit, this is so funny. This thumbnail is hilarious because it's like... it's like that YouTuber thumbnail, but man, these fellas, they top tournaments for a reason. They got, I don't know what the hell's going on. They top tournaments for a reason, but they play good decks, they play good cards, and none on them, but they're very serious. They have the tournament mystique, if you will, which is very necessary in order to top tournaments, I feel like.
Marcos.
Hello, it's George.
Hey, it's Albert.
The first one we got,
let's see the vibes.
is Damage Condenser, and this is a card that has finally seen a recent
Damage Condenser,
and I think just one of them. But we at Team
Starlight, I'll try to let him speak his truth, and then I'll say something.
Messing around with Damage Condenser in a bunch of different decks, especially Declan in Frogs, right?
The fact that this card can search any monster from your deck, assuming that they're low enough attack points, and the most broken monsters in the format are Substitute and Lonefire, which are mini boys that just get searched for free off of this guy. It's super. I actually remember, Marcos, when we...
Yeah, so yeah, this card is very cool, and it has seen play in particularly 2 decks, I want to say. The main ones being... I guess the main one was Gigavize. That's the one that I've seen this card the most. Secondly, I know E3 tested it in X-Sabers, tutor like Cat Monk. Basically, this card is... It's great, and I think it just has applications in just little attack monster decks. There is that reptile deck, the Venom deck that I have been trying to make a list for. What is it? Zero attack boss monster. What is it? Venimiaga or whatever. Let's see if this works. Venimanaga, I think it's called. This dude. So if you have a grave, he's zero attack. He gains 500. So basically, you can tutor 2k to 3k beater, and which has a restriction that can't be tutored off a recruiter, but damage condenser is essentially a universal recruiter. The only problem is you have to take damage, and it's interesting. Technically, this can be used offensively, which is what is something to think about. But the thing is, you just don't take enough damage. If you're like, let's say, crashing a recruiter, you're going to take into what? Let's say into a Kaius, you're going to take 1,000, so you can tutor 1,000 monster, and you have the discard. You have the discard plus just being in a game state where you can make a comeback is a problem, because let's say the average way you're going to use this card is getting attacked, right? And you're basically in a game state that's not great. Basically, the card that you get off this basically needs to swing the game into your favor, which is, and you need to support a discard. And you have to be in a position where your opponent just willingly attacks into your back row. Granted, if you're playing against Vayu and they just grepher Vayu, and it's like, yeah, it's normally going to happen. But the problem is yeah, you just, like, I guess if you get swung on by a Kaius, what are you going to do? Bring out your own Kaius? It's not. You have to bring out a good monster, basically. But they list some good examples.
Showed me 2 years ago. Or something close to that.
I did test this in Gemini Soldier Control.
And I was just like, wow. Never seen this
It's all right.
before, and I didn't really believe in it then, but as the format's gotten faster, it just seems really good to be able to get to your... It's like another starter.
I think that's the important part. These combo decks like Forgs and Gigavites, just having more starters is ideal. And I think the other part that people don't realize about Damage Condenser, because you might think it's too slow because your opponent has to attack, it actually is just about battle damage. So you could swing in with like a weak Dandelion or a Dupe Frog. And as long as you get damage, you can activate Damage Condenser's effect, and it can't be
I already mentioned that
because it's during damage step. So
true, I did forget that. It does activate damage step, which is very important. Which also the recruiters do, which plays around the oppression, which is cool. Obviously, there was a match that I forgot that it was on duelingbook though, so it doesn't really matter that much.
Sorry. So it's honestly super unexplored. It's only been really used in plant engines so far, but I would love to see it being used in other things in Edison format. There's a lot of really broken small cards. Next up is a personal.
I guess Gemini Soldier would be one of them. I guess not really. The Gemini Soldier is kind of falling off, but I want to blame deck dev, but it's just, I don't know. Maybe we'll see decon and more decks. Obviously, you can't decon, unfortunately, because they have question mark attack. Very hard to find synergies with those cards, but I guess that's decon. I haven't been seeing many decons, and let's see, latest innovations at RBT Chicago was like Nitro Vayu, which is draw trap Vayu, basically. What is it? Those Light Sworns. I think Lumina is 1,000 attack. Yeah, and Light Sworns have a lot of cards they don't mind discarding because they have Plague Reincarnation, and that's something to think about. But I guess I don't play that deck, so I can't really say much. We'll see.
No favorite card of
Let's go next card.
Going into this new meta,
Big Burn.
I genuinely think is the counter to Forks, because Big Burn is one of those cards that seems situational, which it is. So I don't see people main decking Big Burn.
This card is so
goofy. Can see if you have an issue with Forgs.
Yeah, so when you activate this card, your opponent already discard the target's monster in your graveyard. So
specifically, this destroys.
I'm curious the reasoning is.
Because if they try to activate Salvage, normally you can't Crow Salvage because it still gets the other monster. Or if they try to Pot of Avarice, there's a lot of cards that they have that target cards in the grave. And those cards, if they get blown...
I thought this only worked on your grave, and this does work on the opponent's grave. That's interesting.
Burn, they can just lose on the spot, because banishing every single monster is insane. Obviously, the downside is you banishes your own monsters, but I think there's plenty of decks out there that don't care that much. Some that come to mind are like Hero Beat Stun, Glad Beasts, and of course Chain Beat.
So what I really like about this card is...
Chain Beat? What?
Obviously, you said it's really good for Forgs, but it's also good into other matchups like Vayu.
Does he mean Winged Rhinos? Oh, I'm not sure.
I remember it being pretty good. So it's a little bit different from things like Chain Disappearance or, like you said, DD Crow. It hits different things, but I love the fact that it hits Salvage and Avarice. Those are two really big cards in Forgs, and you don't really care about Treeborn Frog as much as you do about hitting those big +1 cards. So I think the fact that it's good into multiple matchups is also really nice.
It hits Vayu because Vayu does target the other monster in the grave, which is insane. And it'd be even decent into like running hybrid Vayu because it also hits Blizzard. It hits any of those monsters like Junk Synchron, Debris Dragon. There's just a lot of things. Miracle Fertilizer comes to mind that's seeing really huge prominence in both Gigabytes and Amaryllis decks. So if a deck runs cards that target the grave, I think Big Burn is going to see some interesting plays. Don't be surprised if you get blown out by this in the future.
This is my son.
Yeah, I think Big Burn has, I guess the main problem is you just can't main deck the card. It just has to be on side deck, which is probably a lot of the reason why you don't see the card that much. I do remember seeing it. Someone got crowed and they chained Big Burn. That was huge, right? It triggered a trap card, basically. It has to be triggered by your opponent. I guess the reason, yes, and the side deck is just like too important right now in Edison to really just warrant this type of card. And to be honest, if your deck doesn't really care about the graveyard, I guess getting your stuff banished, shit, I could probably side this in Fortune Ladies. Then you might as well play like D-Fissure or something. But maybe we'll see more of this card. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll try playing this in Ladies. Because I'm thinking about it. Because there is a lot of times where in late game I have a lot of cards in my graveyard and I'd rather than be banished a lot of the time. Something to think about.
Dominance in both Gigabytes and Amaryllis decks. So
at least in that deck.
yeah, if a
or
deck
my
runs
deck.
cards that target the grave, I think Big Burn is going to see interesting plays. Don't be surprised if you get blown out by this in the future.
This is my son. I love our.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. I've only seen on DB replay. I think it was an RBT or something, like the online one. So.
Force the Fool. Ever since I was a child, I thought this card was super cool. And looking at it now, it's just really good. There's some decks that cannot out it at all. And I think that the fact that the coin flip really doesn't matter, it either is neutral or in your favor, because you don't really target it with your own effects. If you do hit heads, but if you hit tails and your opponent isn't able to target it or destroy it by battle, if you watch the Jank Tank episode that we posted most recently, I made a list with this in Kaiser Coliseum that also utilized Reacher Swap. And there are some situations where it's this meta, for valid reasons, doesn't really have any answers for this card specifically. It's kind of a block, potentially even more annoying. So I think this card's awesome. It's just there's some flaws with it, like piercers, but other than that, it's really good.
True. Black Wings is Aura is a pain, right?
That's why the creature swap felt necessary, but I think it's a really underexplored card, and you just do a lot with it.
I think negating targeting effects is probably the best effect. It's a fairy, so it could potentially be, let's see, when this card is summoned, you could tutor this off of Angel and then get its effect, potentially, if you really need it. But if you have Angel, it's probably safe, maybe, I'm not sure. I think the second effect to negate targeting is very good, though. Because that's why Titanium is the most broken cards.
Is always a pretty flexible deck. You could put in a bunch of like cool tech cards.
And there's also other ways to summon it out, 1-for-1 and damage condenser even. So it's not just fairies. Potentially run this guy as an attackable card or a sideable card. Who knows?
I will say the only issue with damage condenser specifically is that it has to be in attack mode. But otherwise, I do think there's a lot of ways to tutor it out or cheese it out, which is really cool.
It's mainly 1-for-1. Nova Summoner is really good. So
with decon, it's like their battle play is basically over if you're resolving a decon in the battle plays.
Just special summon it and get its effect. And what I liked about it is worst case scenario, it's just like Spirit Reaper. You draw it, you just set it, and it'll just wall off for you.
Yeah, fortunately, Spirit Reaper has been a card that has fallen off in the Edison meta. Last time I don't even remember the last time I've seen it. Other than in Zombies or Welly Dad, which I don't even really agree with that. Put it in Welly Dad.
And Spirit Reaper type cards, there's not many, but they're all annoying if you don't have the out. So here is my personal favorite card of the entire.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're having the out there. We are comboing. Like Nitrovia is like triple Icarus, which is insane. Light Sworns literally could care less because it's just too passive. That's a problem. If you're doing other things alongside this card, just protecting your board, or protecting lethal, basically, it's like a Wabaku, then it's cool. You get your front card, target this card, yeah. Be kind of cool if you get protecting other cards. Here we got Limit Reverse.
Limit Reverse, I think, is still heavily underutilized in this format. I have showed in our video that we made about Limit Reverse plants. I think Lone Fire Blossom obviously synergizes extremely well with
Limit Reverse. Man, I'm a huge fan of Limit Reverse. Guys, it's literally Monster Reborn. Obviously, a New Bell. Man, remember when I said I was going to try to one-trick this deck? New Bell, this card. It's very good in New Bell. I think this card... Oh, it's also used in Pac-Man. And I think it's even better in Pac-Man because of the whole Magic Planner synergy. Oh, this is my list. I don't know why I'm playing Shield Crush, so just don't judge me. Even more synergy. It's literally a +1 if you pull it out with those formula. Also, I think this card could be used in any deck that plays Card Trooper. Honestly, I think this card reviving Card Trooper over and over and getting its drawing effect, even if you like Magic Planner this card, it's got to be the move. I know Macro, or I guess Team Charlotte, I know they uploaded a Vortex Trooper plant deck. Obviously, Vortex Trooper is just not that great. But it's an interesting thing that I love about Edison format is that you can really build your deck around a certain card. If you want to be, I guess Lone Fire would be an example. I know everyone's going to that example, but if you want to just bring out a normal monster, there's just so much support for that. Like Damage Connector, bring out Card Trooper, let me reverse it back, send it away, revive it. What else? Sangan, add it to your hand. I know there's more searching. I know more normal monsters have even more support. So add it to your hand and whatever that one card, the summoners or whatever it's called. It's pretty chill. Obviously, there is. I don't know. It is deck dev is always a consideration. But I'm not sure. Maybe if you had, I know I did test this with Damage Connector in the Gemini control deck that I was trying out, but I just thought that it was, I don't know, it didn't really help with that deck. But that's another story for another day.
So many really cool limit reverse targets in this format. None of them are really in the meta decks, which is probably the main reason why we don't see it.
Technically, you can play this in literally any deck. For example, Lumina is another 1,000 attack monster. Value is a monster that is 1,000 less attack. That deck also plays Card Trooper. Maybe you want a tribute for a Caius. If I don't think I've been seeing Caius that much in that deck. I could be wrong. Oh, I forget the Recruiters. That was another one that helps tutor 1,000 or less. The Recruiters, Damage Connector, Recruiter, get that Giant Rat into the Giant Rat, go into Turtle, what is it? Pyramid Turtle, going to set up your limit reverse.
But I do think there is a deck out there that will get a ton of value off of limit reverse, whether it be plants, whether it be something else. I do think specifically Gigavise type decks, some of them were taking Call of the Haunted, which makes a ton of sense because it helps you get your Gigaplant back. But I do think there's a Gigavise deck out there that could also potentially go in on limit reverse, targeting Dandy, targeting Lone Fires, and continuing doing big extensions, because the deck can run out of steam sometimes if they get their one summon or one thing negated or dealt with. And I think limit reverse helps you deal with multiple back row a little bit more effectively, rather than hoping to draw like a Heavy Storm or Giant Tornado or sweepers and stuff. You know?
Unfortunately, historically, that hasn't really been the case. Unfortunately, obviously, of the time, your cards are getting banished, right? It's getting deep present, it's getting bottomless, it's getting, I guess, not necessarily Icarus, but it's getting banished, and that's another problem with relying on the graveyard. And also, that deck also just has Miracle Fur, which is just way more broken. I think I remember seeing an old Gigavise Yu-Gi-Oh video where he literally just had Miracle Fur, Hidden Armory, and one other card, and Bro was able to just reborn his whole board, make a whole other board off that. Unfortunately, Limit Reverse is just too slow. It's a trap card. It's too slow. You have to wait. It has to be an attack. Obviously, Yubel example is pretty cool, right? With Yubel in the graveyard, it is a 1-card incarnate. You bring back Yubel on their turn, put it into defense, destroys it, brings out Terra Incarnate. Obviously, I don't even know why I'm bringing up Yubel. I've not played this deck in ages. Really should.
A little bit more effectively, rather than hoping to draw like Heavy Storm or Giant Tornado or sweepers and stuff. You know? Kaiser Coliseum, which you just talked about, but
Ooh,
this is
Kaiser.
a good segue, I feel like, from the Arcana Force, because like I said, I think the two cards go really well together.
This is the card that will ruin the... That's what I want to say. And I know someone did bring up Summon Limit here. That's so interesting. That's one of... This card is legal moment. What? It's something... Unfortunately, decks can just do way too much in 2 summons. Or at least... It's just like, then there's Black Wings, and it's like... So then most of the time, Edison, you only need 2 summons. Lumina into Gareth, Greffer into Bayou, what else? Bring back Reborn, summon Caius. I guess this prevents your opponent from also setting any monsters, right? Cannot place a monster on the field. I don't know if this is... Yeah, I guess this is the ruling that we use.
That's when Declan and I were building that Arcana Stun deck. Kaiser Coliseum is
Stun.
with cards like Arcana Force, but...
Now there is, at the end of this video, I will mention a card that would actually... That is another underrated card that I'd be very surprised if anyone... If they mention it in this video, or even in our next video. I know they did make another part 2 to 25 more underrated cards, which I will be reacting to maybe after a gameplay video. I think I'll make a gameplay video tomorrow, but maybe Fortune Ladies, potentially. I really show off that deck more. But yeah, there's a card that synergizes with this heavily, and it's very interesting. You'll see.
It's also really good. Any deck that plays Recruiters just
Recruiters
limits the amount of cards they can play.
Maybe.
I don't know. What do you think, Declan?
Brownick innovated with this card at RBT Rulers, but it's just a floodgate that's been underexplored. Anybody who knows me knows I
Noobs hate this card, by the way. They despise this card. They will make a truce to just be like, yeah, let's not play this card because it's just too broken. Which, casual metagame, this is the card that's a problem. But I'm curious. This is definitely, we need to explore this more.
So I wouldn't love to see Kaiser Coliseum become a staple in the meta, but we're in a format where there's only one MST. And if you could just play something like Hero Beat and just summon one monster and activate Kaiser Coliseum, and all of a sudden every combo deck or every deck that wants to summon multiple cards.
Hero Beat, man. Oh, Hero Beat. Oh, how you fallen. Oh.
They can't summon or Blizzard get the effect, limiting your opponent to basically just having one monster on the field.
They probably just wouldn't summon Blizzard. They're just like summon Sirocco, I guess.
Really kind of
Sirocco, another big format definer, 2K defense type B, you know what I'm saying?
Floodgate that is on.
Have enough defense, have an answer to Sirocco, have an answer to getting rushed down by the various decks, I guess. Have an answer to getting comboed on. Have an answer to normal summon attack decks or monsters. Have an answer to getting comboed on. The name of the game right now, that is the format. And honestly, what I struggle with, I guess most. Can't really say on that one.
Obviously,
much so.
With recruiters seems really good because even if they out the monster, it automatically replaces itself, so they can't ever really break the lock.
I really wish that recruiter control would be more broken or more viable. Obviously, in the last 5 months, recruiters mainly see play and potentially the side deck. You would think, right? Oh, damage condenser, tutors substitute, tutors lone fire. But those decks are just playing their respective recruiters. Unfortunately, obviously not frogs. They're not playing their mother grizzly, which is just requires too much, I guess. Oh, you want to normal summon it, attack in battle phase, tutor your substitute, but it's like now there's a fork or I guess rock combo, which is like just pitching, sending substitute, salvaging it. People have just found other ways to find their cards, and obviously Lone Fire is playing their fire total.
So it's a really cool card that no one's really taken upon themselves to innovate with.
Another thing is you have to just build your deck around this, but then you might not see it, and it's like they side breaker all. You might have to take this out for game 2. But yeah.
Actually, rep recruiters, and I feel like zombies, weirdly enough, could do something with this. Force your opponent into attacking the recruiters, into just laying, not being able to do too much until you want to.
Apparently, good players don't attack recruiters. They don't attack into recruiters, but zombies is another interesting one. Obviously. I remember seeing Keegan's video, the Zombie World Rivalry deck. That's interesting. Also, the card I'm going to mention synergizes with that heavily, but it's also a weird. Why would you play that card in zombies?
It doesn't stop you from making more summons. It just stops your opponent, which is broken. So you can.
Cool idea. Just stall out the game until you go for your big push, because zombies are in a weird place right now. So I like that idea. Never thought about that one.
But beast mode. Kaiser Coliseum zombies win. So here's a little card that
I guess. Last thing I'll say on Kaiser is if you commit to the board, you can't uncommit to the board, right? I feel like you need to play a deck and uncommit. So you're like, oh, let's say I want to put out a Stardust, another monster. You need to find a way to, I guess, not have those monsters on. I don't know. The only thing that comes up is Winged Rhinos, because you can sit on Winged Rhinos kind of a lot. Or maybe Gadget's another one that's like that. Ooh, Machina Gadgets. I don't know about Solidarity. Maybe not. We can Gear Frame, Fortress, and then equip your Gear Frame in main 2, and that'd be pretty good with this card. I'm kind of cooking.
Beast mode. Kaiser Coliseum.
Forged Truth. Now we go to Reforged Truth. Huge fan of this card. Obviously, I was using it in Gemini Control deck that I have not really showcased. Or I think I did showcase it in a video. I think I need to improve the deck though, but we'll see.
A second, but Albert, thoughts on
Forged Truth in Edison? It hasn't really been used too much outside of a Gemini to grab Gemini Soldier, but there might be a few other targets for this card. We have Torapart, which is a level 2 tuner. Unfortunately, it can only make warrior type synchros, but we do play a few good ones in Edison.
That card is very interesting. I gotta say, that card with Colossal Fighter, it basically makes the synchro monster unaffected, warrior synchros unaffected by traps. Think about, very interesting. The unfortunate part is you would think this is like, oh, this just brings out a tuner, and then you can normal summon a monster, and then synchro on the same turn. There's E-Tele, but that is limited. But also, this is a trap card, and it also has a restriction, which is a common theme with underrated cards. In reverse, Common Charity, which I think he mentions later. But the thing is that that's literally just a -1. You just think about it. If you're using this as synchro, it's a -1. If you're using it in Gemini, that's like the only thing you're doing, because unless you're playing Ultimate Offering, because you bring this out on your turn, you bring out Gemini Soldier on your opponent's turn. On your turn, then you have to normal summon the Gemini Soldier, and that's a lot of tempo that's lost if he gets deprisoned or anything happens to it. So we'll see what
Blue
that's saying.
Guardian, Gaia Knight, Herbellum, Colossal Fighter.
And the other
True.
part that's like interesting is like the card Emergency Teleport is limited to 1, right?
Sure,
But if you just summon
Goyo
out-
is a
not Torpart,
warrior.
because Torpart, I mean, Torpart is interesting. We'll talk about it in a second. But there's another target that Reinforced Truth has, which is Jut Warrior. And Jut Warrior is just a generic level 2 tuner.
Jet
Its effect is
Warrior.
pretty irrelevant most of the time. Can come up maybe, but I just think
Let me see that card actually. Jet Warrior. Wait, what? Am I crazy? Did he not just say Jet Warrior? Wait,
and Jut Warrior is just a generic level 2 tuner. Its effect is pretty irrelevant most of the time.
Jut
Can
Wa-
come up maybe.
Jet Warrior. Yeah, let's just look up Warrior. Warrior tuners. Two bullets. What? Guys, I think I'm tripping. Wait, let's just go Warrior tuners. Judo Fighter. Don't know. I don't think there's a Jet Warrior, guys. I don't think there's a Jet Warrior.
I just think the ability to summon a tuner at will is such a underutilized thing in this format that desperately.
I already said it's just a -1. It's fortunate. Oh, check
Like
some.
if E-Telly was at more than 1, it'd be run all the time. That's the only reason why like I feel like Welladad isn't super dominant, because it's not consistent, right? But this is at 3, so you could run a small tuner package and Reinforced Truths and just have
I wonder if the reason E-Telly was limited because of Welly or because of Mind Master being such broken. Probably both.
your guys out. It's a little slower, obviously, and you probably want to activate it on your opponent's turn at the end phase because you don't want to lose your battle phase. But who knows? Maybe zombies can find some way to do this. I keep bringing up zombies, but this feels like it fits their goal because they usually are.
Oh, zombies. How far are you falling? I have not seen zombies in ages. The last thing was what? Instant zombies? And then I just have not seen the top with zombies in ages, man. That deck disappeared, bro. There's Diva zombies in the finals. You know what? That's recent. I can't really say that. But really curious to see who won that. Not that I'm really keeping up like that.
3.
So I don't
So
know
you could
what bugs
run
to think.
a small tuner package and Reinforced Truths
Yeah.
and just have your guys out. It's a little slower, obviously, and you probably want to activate it on. But this feels like it fits their goal because they usually are one tuners. They're desperate for tuners. They
Why normal summon a monster and Reinforced Truth when you could just normal summon Diva?
run double Diva sometimes just to fulfill that.
You guys mentioned it.
Decent
Yeah,
target, Mystic Swords
you're
for
right.
level 2. If you're able to Reinforce Truth at the end phase and your opponent has a face down defense, you can just get rid of that. There's also Sasuke Samurai number 2.
Dude.
Probably not the
Dude.
best card, but you can pay 800 life points in your main phase, and until the end phase, you cannot activate spells or traps.
It's just a cold wave. So in decks that could
He's spitting, pretty sure. Let's go 1-2. Let's find this card. This actually exists. That's cool. It's Cold Wave. Whatchamacallit. There was another card. Oh, it's Penalty Game. This is a card that. What is this? Your opponent has 4 cards in their. Wait. When your opponent has 4 cards in their hand. Wait a minute. It has to be specifically 4? I did not realize this had to be specifically 4 cards in their hand. I thought this was 4 or less, or 4 or more. No, it's exactly 4, guys. If they have exactly 4, you can cold wave them, guys. It's not
second, third, and
technically a turn skip though. It's technically a draw phase turn skip. They will use their cards probably.
cold wave. Reinforced Truth is there too. So there's a lot of applications. It's a full toolbox of level 2 or lower warrior monsters that are out there. But the one in particular that we're gonna heavily showcase here in this video is Torpart, which we mentioned briefly. But there's something really
Torpart,
spicy
yeah.
about having a dark tuner that is searchable with Reinforced Truth.
Dark
This card has
tuner.
the downside of only being able to summon warrior synchro monsters, but that warrior synchro monster won't be affected by traps during the battle phase.
Which is
That can be
huge.
really good because we've seen how amazing Gadgetron can be in this format, and having just like a Goyo Guardian freely ram and steal monsters can be.
I think there was another card that was cool against trap cards. Obviously, I'm a Wing Rhinos Enjoyer. I'm not really sure. Obviously, I did bring up, what is it? HSC in last video. In last video, I did bring up Dimensional Intervention, which I'd be very surprised if they bring up this card. But reclaim your battle phase. Oh, Goyo Guardian gets Sea Prison. Reborn Goyo Guardian. Attack again. Obviously, this doesn't work with cards that can't be special summoned or just generically. But
Goyo Guardian would be the most ideal. You can also make
Dark Arm
Fighter
Dragon.
and just having a big bungus to get in. I've been trying to cook with this card for a while now. I haven't really gotten there, but my latest iteration is Warrior Solidarity deck that me and Declan have been trying to cook up. So there might be some utility in there, just spamming out big warriors and big warrior synchros.
Warrior Solidarity.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that
Warrior Solidarity is a very bizarre deck. I remember seeing you just Bushi in the graveyard, just reborn. You have Solidarity, you have Oppression up, and you just have like 4 floodgates in their back, and you just deal with Bushi. Yep.
Deep Prison is still the most popular card in the format, and this directly is a counter to
Deep
that. So,
Prison,
and everyone their mother plays Mirror Force, so definitely
Deep Prison's still insanely popular.
bonus effect with this card.
Remember when people were saying that card is getting out of decks, guys? It's definitely like, oh, Karma Cut, guys. I feel like that card's underrated, but Karma Cut, we're totally going to see that card more, guys. Yeah, sadly not.
This card is just so close to being broken. If it just gave that Warrior Synchro monster a little bit more defense than just the battle phase, but
Targeting protection would be a huge one. Let's just think about this. You're setting a card, and then you're normal summoning a monster. Hopefully, you're getting a monster that replaces itself, like Sangan, Goblin Zombie, which I guess it's why you can think about those cards. You're just basically discarding a card to special summon a synchro, which is not, honestly, not bad. I'm be honest. Obviously, cards. There are decks that could care less about you discarding a card, but you just lose a lot of tempo, I guess, from trying to just synchro with this card. What else? Something to think about.
right. Next up, we got
Interdimensional Matter Transporter. Now, look, I have a lot to say about this card, but we'll see what they say.
Order. George, take it away.
I think this card's really good. It's seen some very niche play in some hero decks. I remember a while back, but I've been trying to do something with this card because I think that it has a lot of potential. The most common thing that people see with it is that it's just a free Raigeki if you have Ab-Zero up. And
True.
usually you can time it to where
The problem is that's very win more.
you summon Ab-Zero and then they try to stop it with one of their own cards.
Super
and then
cool
you can
idea,
use
though.
Matter
I
Transporter.
will say.
Blows up their whole field and it just comes back. But I think my favorite part about this card is that it doesn't special summon the monster back. So you can potentially use cards like this for Light and Darkness Dragon. Kind of the simulation in my head is if you summon Lad, they have to use 2 cards to out it. So they would go activate a card, Lad would activate, they'd activate another card. And if you chain this card, Matter Transporter, it'll banish your Lad. When Lad comes back, it gets all of its attack back, which I think is just super solid. Your opponent is going to be out 2 cards that tried to out it. But it can also bring back stuff like Dark Arm Dragon, Vanity's Fiend to just make it so you can special summon.
The only problem is just it's very win more. Fun fact, I did try this in Fortune Ladies because fortunately it triggers light, comes back during the end phase. I was very obsessed with trying to use light and interdimension to basically make a ring of destruction during the opponent's turn with fire. Obviously, I realized that just fire's effect is just not that great in a lot of matchups. Most of the time, people are just normal summoning and swinging into light, and it's like, oh, it's not really they're summoning their low value targets against it, right? And again, trying to set up a trap card into their board, like, oh, they summon like a synchro, you want to take that out, you have to set this card, or have it set beforehand, and then normal summon light, and then you can't really avoid it in their battle phase. Or I guess you can have it set up, but then smart players won't really try to play into this card. I don't know if you didn't rush part showing this list. But that's my personal thing. Because this triggers light effect, which is cool. It's like a flash effect. It's basically only a quick effect, future vision, so in a way.
So there's like a lot of underexplored uses for this card that I think could make it viable as a cool tech.
I actually thought that this card could be one of those cards that can also be used in the strange decks that run Fusilier. Fusilier Dragon is usually just used because you set it to tribute it off with like
No,
Radiator.
true.
But if you interdimensional matter transport it while it's regularly just in attack mode, it'll come back with all of its attack stats, full 2800.
Sure, they'll
Same thing
mention
with,
this, but
with the Beast King Barbaros. So
Barbaros,
I've been
yeah.
messing around with something like that just to like, can I make Beast King Barbaros if it's big?
Again, you could just future visions the cards.
I hope people get inspired by us,
But
but
yeah.
maybe they'll cook with it. You know? Forbidden Chalice.
I tried it. I'm gonna be honest. I just realized that compulsory is just better at triggering light, rather than it's a double use case in this deck specifically. If you have light out and you interdimension, the whole I don't know. Like trying to 3-card combo with a trap card is just not great unless you play a very grindy deck.
Genuinely don't see why this
Here
card
you go,
doesn't see
Chalice.
more play. It can negate Raikou because it has
The fall of Raikou. Another story to tell. The only problem with this card is that it's just straight up a -1. No matter how you look at it, it is just a -1. It's not a minus. It's very good against Substitute. That's it.
make the card gain attack. You
But
can
we'll
use it in
see.
damage step.
I'm a huge fan of the whole double usage gain 400, but gaining 400 is just too little.
Can negate. It's the only card that can negate flip effects. It's also a card that can negate Caius. It can negate Dark.
Also negating Gore's token, I guess, but people want to deal with the Gores, not the token that it brings out.
Dark Armed. It can negate basically every single relevant effect in this entire format, while also being a spell that is a quick play, so that it doesn't get hit by Trap Stun, doesn't get hit by Royal Decree, doesn't get hit by a lot of.
True, that is something to think about. Quick play spells, I think Book of Moon and Chalice, not necessarily Chalice, but I think Book of Moon is heavily, needs to be explored more. Because in the finals of Chicago, the Lightsworn player opened Decree in 2 and 3, and it just made the Bayou deck basically unplayable. Nitro Bio. It just really was put in heavy work. I think just quick play spells probably the most broken, not necessarily broken, but basically they have the most utility or use cases. So you can use it going second. You can use it just as fast as a spell card that can be activated on your opponent's turn. Quick play spells are very good. Obviously there's not much disruptive quick play spells in this format. Like this card, I really want to make a use case for Book of Eclipse. The only problem is obviously it draws cards, but man, there's gotta be a way. There's gotta be one card. What is it? That card that doesn't let you draw cards. Draw phase. Let's see, where is he at? This dude, Protector of the Sanctuary. This card could potentially, well, I guess it would be face down by your own Eclipse. Never mind. Protector of the Sanctuary. Maybe something to prevent cards outside of draw phases. What is that? Shoot, it could even Copium, trigger your appropriate. This card is something to think about, I will say. Drop off, defensive draw. This is another, basically a Cyber Archfiend type effect. Draw an extra card. Does draw your opponent an extra card. So that's something to think about. This is another card that I really see more play for. So there's no cards, draw a card, an additional card, and then take damage, and definitely something to think about. It's probably one of the only cards that draw you cards that just stay on the field. Just keep being useful, basically. Well, this card is face up. This is not a Edison card. No, it is an Edison card. What the hell? What the hell is this card? I've never seen this card before. Well, it's considered you select instead, this effect. Instead of normal draw, something.
Of the typical cards you're normally used to seeing, and I just think that decks that can utilize Chalice to its fullest extent should be trying to use it. And I think more decks should.
Yeah, I know Gigavice tried this out. I'm not sure if they're still playing it.
So strong to not be seeing use.
It's a battle trick too that no one's ever gonna expect. So
Fortunately, even against hamster, it's, oh, I ran into a hamster, I'm gonna negate it. The hamster's still there. It's very sad.
it's monster.
Very good at negating Stardust if they don't summon literally any other threat alongside of it. But
It's definitely a really good card as we're seeing more and more.
I have heard one dude's opinion, I think it was on Chicago live stream, he was like, it's very good in other formats, but just it's unfortunate.
Actually, Marcos, does this card negate like a lone fire?
So the issue with Prio is that because of priority already tributing the monster,
Right.
it won't work, but it will negate a Stardust. So if you hit this, like you hit a Stardust Dragon with this, and then before they attack and then near force the
see.
Stardust, they can attempt to negate, but it will stay negated because Chalice doesn't care where it goes. It's just stay negated the whole time. So Chalice has like a lingering effect that also affects Substitute. So sometimes people go for like a Substitute combo, right? They'll summon Substitute, tribute the Treeborn.
Maybe I should just let him speak,
And
guys.
now they can't tribute that Substitute because it will just be fully negated. So I think that's
And
a very
they
relevant
can
thing.
actually, but it won't resolve.
I'm
So
sorry,
if they
they'll tribute,
misplay
yeah.
into this one, it could be devastating for them.
Oh, 100%. I think there might be some people that can steal some Fork matches against newer Fork players that don't know the rulings. And I actually saw that in real time at an RBET. Somebody was running this card against the Frog player, and the Frog player was like, he did that play where he like tributed the Substitute, and then he had to call a judge to confirm that doesn't work, which is crazy. What a crazy swing in tempo. So Chalice, guys, it also comes ulti.
She's gorgeous.
The
It
ulti's
looks
gorgeous.
so nice.
Yeah,
Ulti,
this card
guys.
is
Oh man, this card is peak now. Yep, 100% have to run it. Ulti equals instant run.
It's me where you'll spend all this time trying to like play around certain cards or traps, deep prison or bottomless. I'm gonna do this, and then it's similar to like, I guess why I'm comparing it to Compulse is because when people drop this, you just like never expect it. It's never on your list of things to play around, and I think that's what makes it so strong.
Totally. And I think probably the best decks that can run it are going to be decks that are really just worried about.
Yeah, maybe if Lad is played in every deck, then maybe this card would have an application. But then again, it's just like Book of Moon. You book it, just put it face down. Maybe if this negated the graveyard effect as well, it'd actually be good. But
monster effects for the most part, like Raikos and whatnot. Mostly just like Raiko. Decks, Ancient Gears, if you can get out your Gadgetron, they're not worried about any back row. They're just worried about monsters. So something to think about when you're building your next big machine monster deck, right?
fortunately, they have Ancient Gear Beast, and I don't think any type of gadget or Machina deck is ever worried about a Raiko, because they're more than likely, I don't know, just grinding it out and swinging into it. They're little monsters, not their fortress. But even then, if you target fortress with Raiko, they literally don't. You're gonna hand loop. So
Boy is a strange card because it has the weird ability to synchro with cards in your hand. Just something you can do, but unfortunately, you have to synchro with cards from your hand. And it's kind of cool though, because you can cheese out some really big, strong monsters. You can make Red Dragon Archfiend with no downside of having its ability to blow up other monsters you have, because that monster will be negated. But one big downside, unfortunately, is that Eccentric Boy, all the synchros that it makes, they'll just be banished if they're removed from the field. But I don't know, there's a lot of ways to recur banished monsters in this format. DDR, which I'm going to mention, a bunch of other continuous traps we're going to talk about later.
true.
So I do think Eccentric Boy has not really seen the love that I think it deserves. I think there's probably a deck out there that can tech one or two and have some really strong success, especially if people really want Eradicator Epidemic Virus in their side deck and stuff. Like this.
Fortunately, this card is a deck dev target. That also means it could be used in decon deck or a deck that uses wind recruiters. Unfortunately, Flying Kamakuri, the wind recruiter, is probably the most underused recruiter. I wonder if I should make a wind recruiter deck that tries to utilize that card. Unfortunately, the insect recruiters seems more play rather than the wind one. But that's something to think about. Oh, let's say I have the wind and I like tutor out this dude and then try to make a synchro. Obviously, I have seen a replay with this card where they use Thunder Dragon to make synchro 8s. Yeah, you guys see effect. Fortunately, you can't cross fighter and then let it back. I know I was thinking about using this card with Beast of the Pharaoh. This, I gotta say, is one of those quote-unquote underrated cards that could potentially be played in zombies. Maybe you played the zombie Gemini shenanigan, or not Gemini. That one card, the card that makes warriors, this card's on level 4. It can reborn itself. Something to think about. I know it is a debris target, maybe debris zombies. I'm really coping. Limit Reverse, Diva, debris zombies. Something like that. Because you Synchro 7, Reborn Pharaoh, do something with it. I don't know, guys. Eccentric plus Beast of the Pharaoh, Reborn Pharaoh. Some type of double tuner. Like Diva, I know, brings out 2 tuners, bring out this card, and Synchro twice, make 2 5s or something. Or like climb with that. Let's say make a 5 and 7, and then this can go to 10, which is not. Fortunately, there's no good Synchro 10s that you can make, or you can't really make them.
This card in value would be insane. You just use this and Sirocco to make a level 8 synchro.
This card in value, oh man. Ooh, the amount of players that I'd rather have a Grefford than this card.
Brave, and then you can tribute it off for Eradicator or deck dev, whatever you want to do. I think there's just a lot of decks that aren't afraid of using something like this, but
It's a cool card.
Then we have Elf and the Raven, that
Because the
example as
ginormous
well.
fungus, when your opponent's not really expecting it, can be really powerful. And in my head, you definitely have to build around this card. So I think there is some spice to be had that is unexplored with it. That we're saying, utilizing the banished pile in some way to build around this guy, because he can just summon huge mans with no cost.
you're right. It definitely feels like a card that you build a little bit around, but since it's not really that searchable, I just want to see it be flash in something. And even as a one of in value, Albert, you're a value turbo guy. Slap the boy in there. Next up is
Value. Here's Maturity. Maybe zombies. I wanted to use it in a deck, or an Arcana Force deck. Or not Arcana Force. What is it? Assault mode. Let's go. Doesn't appear here. Assault mode. This dude with the problem, he's a tuner. He's a plus. He makes up for the -1, which is, I'm glad this card has seen some play in recent iterations of Edison, where you use it in the assault mode deck that recently came out, where it's like Diva and Bayou, and using this card. This card is very good. Assault Mercenary is another interesting card. It makes use of a priority pop rather than it does target, by the way. Yeah, because Breaker gets bottomless, Lila gets bottomless, and it stops our effect. This does not stop the effect. It puts away the assault mode from your grave to back into the deck as cost. Target a back row. Let's say you target not the bottomless and you hit the D prison and you actually get your plus. Very interesting card to think about. Also, a lot of assault mode cards I didn't realize here that are just anyways.
So Allure of Darkness is at 1 in this format for good reason. Dark monsters are pretty good. This is Allure of Darkness for normal monsters, and ultimately,
and it's a trap.
The biggest issue in this particular format.
I already went off on this card. Let's take roll.
Meh, like whatever. But
if this worked, it would. If Gemini monsters were considered normal monsters in hand, that'd be kind of cool.
There are a lot of
maybe
decks that do have normal monsters that are semi-searchable or very searchable. The first one that comes to mind is Heroes. They have a lot of normal monsters that you could use Common Charity for. We're seeing a rise in Elemental Hero Voltic pop up. Imagine you can Common Charity banish a...
I think this would like Elemental Hero Neos, like the normal monster, and then use the Neos with other shit. With like a DDR package or Voltic package, like you said. That'd be cool. I want to see Rainbow Neos get used. Because this card, what is it, Rainbow Neos? This card is very broken. This card is like, you would see it in Master Duel highlights with the Neos Fusion. And it's just like, bro, this card is insane, bro. This plus Ultimate must be fusion. Like, you can Future Fusion this card. Obviously, Rainbow Dragon is terrible. But like, you can Future Fusion at 4,500 to potentially True Nade to deck, or shuffle all cards in your opponent's graveyard. Or Big Burn their graveyard, essentially. Less good than Big Burn, but is there a third effect on this? I guess not. Sure, there was a third effect that's like shuffle monsters, but then shuffle monsters, shuffle spell traps. You could future Ultimate Crystal. You could even use the Rainbow Dark Dragon. You could run Dark Hero Beat or Dark Heroes. I don't know, that's not really a thing. But like Dark Heroes, it's more of Light Heroes, I guess. Rainbow Flowers, the anime card. Rainbow Path, Target Negate. No, apparently a true hero was testing Crystal Beasts. I think he stopped though, not really sure. All that months on the field fix are negated during this card is dude, Rainbow Neos OTK Future Fusion for this shenanigan, and then look, right. Neos is very searchable. It only requires 1 Crystal Beast, which I think is searchable, maybe. Possibly not, actually. I know this technically does search it. I don't know, Pegasus Engine with Neos. I don't know what I'm cooking.
Neos, and then you can special summon that Voltic. Then you can special summon that Neos with Voltic, right? Another deck that could use the draw engine and stuff could be Glad Beast. They have their own searchable level 4 normal Glad Beast monster.
True.
That you just use Proving Grounds and then Common Charity it away. It's not ideal, but there's a way for you to get some value.
The draw engine.
Some of these decks that can search normal monsters.
By the way, Glad Beast players, it's a 1900 a body. Just saying, some new cope for y'all to think about.
His draw power.
The GBs be destroying me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know. I think you've proven with a few decks that they can be competitive, somewhat viable. If you have an engine that revolves around Common Charity, because draw 2 banish, having if you played Allure, 4 copies of that in your deck's gonna be really consistent with whatever it is trying to do. So I think it's just a facilitator.
Unfortunately, it's a little too slow. Unfortunately, it's a little too slow. Shit, you know what? Maybe Dragon Turbo players should pick this up. I know they have triple Reckless, but imagine you Common Charity and find double Reckless more often. You know what? That's something to think about. Because you always have that blue eyes in your hand, and you just, guys, I'm not saying that's maybe next video. I already know what I'm making for next video, but hey, that's something to think about.
It's going to be really consistent
with
whatever it is trying to do. So I think it's just,
you consistently have blue eyes in your hand, play a way to get your banished dragons going, maybe. Not really sure if Dragon Turbo does that, or I don't know. I've been thinking about just using blue eyes in general as a 3K beast kits, because 3K beast 6 are very underutilized in this format. I think surprisingly in modern, 3K beast 6 are just everywhere, but you don't really see it in Edison much. You just see a lot of 28 is highest you'll see.
Inverse Universe, a really fun battle trick.
Oof, this is peak. This makes use of so many small monsters with big defense. There are a lot of
monsters in this format with a huge defense.
Yeah.
Gravekeepers come to mind. Gravekeeper Spy, all of the frogs, and Substitute. These are cards that and some of the most popular cards in this format. Machina Fortress, Machina Gear Frame, Caius. These are all monsters that have really bad defenses. So this battle trick ends up being a lot stronger. And the craziest part about it is that it's
Blackwing defenses as well.
permanent. So you can turn some of your weaker monsters into 2K beaters forever until they're gone. And you can turn Dark Realm Dragons that your opponents
Every floodgate be trying to run GB Hunter becomes a 2K beater. There's like other level 4. That the other card I was just looking at, the draw phase one. Let's see. That one has 1900 defense. That one could be. Let's see where you get these over here. Yeah, Protector of the Sanctuary. Orcs can't draw except during draw phases. Shuts off their draw engine. Something to think about. Well, there's a lot of high defense, low attack, or medium attack floodgate monsters, and I think relying on floodgate monsters is. It's always been a thing with things like Fossil Dyna, but I think it's more of a threat when it's bigger. That's why Vanity Fiend's popular.
has into a 1000 attack little guy. This card could be used in more decks in this form.
By the way, I do kind of want to try out his macros here. His macro shows Cyber Archfiend control deck. That looked very interesting because I was trying to build that myself, but I just couldn't quite get the text correctly, and he cooked.
That aren't just like the jank stuff that I'm coming up with. I do feel like there's stuff out there that could really utilize Inverse Universe. These next two we're gonna talk about at once because they're both very similar. So we have Miraculous Descent and Escape from a Dark Dimension. So Miraculous Descent and Escape from Dark Dimension both special summon. In this case, Miraculous Descent.
These cards are cool as well.
Fairy monsters, where Escape from Dark Dimension special summons a banished dark monster.
If this could get all lights, maybe Lightsworn could see it.
Both of these cards, in my opinion, are unexplored. I think that some Chaos Fairy decks were trying to run Miraculous Descent, not really with a lot of success. And I don't think anyone's really using Escape from the Dark Dimension. And this card is the one that baffles me the most because there are so many decks that banish darks all the freaking time. Vayu Turbo is literally one of the most popular decks of all time. Return from a Different Dimension was a card that was never used and is now always used in Vayu. This is just like a mini Return from a Different Dimension. You can recycle your Plague, you can recycle your Vayu and tribute off of Caius. There's a lot of
it's just a little too many. They're spending an entire card on a card that you don't really. I guess Vayu's kind of cute, right? Just use a 4th Vayu, 5th Vayu, or whatever they did. I guess they did. I guess the conclusion is they started using Burial as a staple in the deck over something like this. Like he's talking about reusing Gardna and all that. The Burial is where the innovation really came from, I guess.
With Escape, I obviously think Escape is a little bit more strong as Descent, but I do think Miraculous Descent can be really good in these type of Chaos Fairy variants, maybe even as just one of, and especially if you're already running Return from a Different Dimension.
I guess the problem with Descent is, I think the latest deck, the Flambeau Fairy deck, makes use of Sark very well. With like, Crash Angel, get Crash out, get back Christia, Special Christia. You don't really need this.
Because it can just act like that a lot of the time. Imagine summoning a Christia off Miraculous Descent. That's
Say that the fact that if you could figure out a way to cheat out Christia with this.
Unfortunately, a lot of people fairies. I don't know. That's a very niche deck, despite how strong it is. And obviously,
Turbo it out with Miraculous Descent. That seems really good. But
Turbo Christia. Let's be honest. Sark plus DDR is any monster in the game, essentially. Let's think about that. Damage signature is very restrictive. It's you have to take damage and all that. Sark into DDR. That's what Lone Fire does. That's what you can technically do that with. If Subzito, if Frogs, for whatever reason, somehow suffered from the consistency that, let's be honest, doesn't even need more to see it has really good consistency. At least with the newest variant, the Forks, like combo deck, Frog combo. They got good consistency. They got Subzito. They got it. But if they needed even more consistency, this is what I meant about you could really build your deck around one card. If you want to see that card, you could Sark into DDR. You can do that with Christia. You can. But the problem is Christia, I don't know, you kind of have to have advantage game playing, and you do want to summon it off its effect because it'll be put on top of your deck, and then it's very much high risk, high reward.
Escape. This is one of the cards on the list where I'm definitely a believer, and this could be competitively viable. There's so many decks that need to banish dark monsters via Dark Armed, via Chaos Sorcerer,
True.
via a lot of different options. And the fact that there's like no restrictions on this card, it's just like any dark monster.
The problem is there's just better cards, fortunately. And the best cards that you want to bring back with this, you can't bring back your Armwing because it was special summon from the extra deck. You can't bring back your Dark Arm. Not that, I don't know why that'd be banished. And you can't bring back Chaos Sork, which I guess, I don't know why that'd be banished as well. Can't bring back just basically the power bombs. This can't bring back, and I guess not. I mean, JD's not an example. Can't bring back things
level,
that you just really would
nothing
want to see.
Just seems like it could be really good. And like you said, no one's cooking with this card. Why not?
Obviously, being a continuous trap, a little bit slow, a little bit susceptible to different things. But hey, man, Magic Planner is a card. Also,
True.
Magic Trade is seeing a lot more play. So if this card just sticks around, getting a little bit of a plus off your True Nades for games.
You know what, guys? Oh, shoot. Maybe this could be a tech, unfortunately, ladies. Dark often gets banished. Maybe it'd be a tech. I literally teched intervention. So you could technically summon this during your standby phase or get its effect on your turn. Something to think about. It'll often get banished. I do find that a problem with the deck is you banish off your own card effects so much that you really don't want to use. You really don't want to banish their fortune ladies, but it's like most of the time they're banishing them off their own effects, so they most likely won't have a fortune future in their hand to quote unquote punish you for banishing their fortune ladies or their darks and stuff. So it is something to think about. Decking a dark illusion is not a crazy idea in this deck. I don't know why I keep bringing up this deck. It's just, I don't know. It feels like my rogue deck of choice, I suppose, to apply to everything, because I guess the other deck that I worked on a ton was basically tomato control. So let's go V5 because I was like, basically, oh god, this version is terrible. Let's go this version. You know, whatchamacallit. Or I should take out and copy of these. Yeah, Dark Plants. They played Mark of the Rose, and then also with the Continuous Trap, came from the Dark Dimension. Is something to think about.
That could be huge. So we've been seeing a huge influx of gadget decks running Horn of Heaven.
Yes.
And it makes a ton of sense. Gadgets have the ability to recur their little guys, but the reason why I put it on this list is because I think there has to be other decks out there besides gadgets that can successfully utilize Horn of Heaven.
I think that like
Zombies would be one of them. Unfortunately, ladies, there's a deck that I'm working on that is attempting to utilize this card. The only problem is I found that it's a one of, but maybe I'll try. I haven't really tested it, so it's
decks that have a lot of tokens via
ooh,
Dandelion
true.
or other cards come to mind. Plant decks that are always swarming the field. This seems like a cool card that could potentially even just be used as a exciting
Side
card
deck
going first, as opposed to just like main decking it in gadgets. People could just play this card in their side deck.
I guess so.
It's really powerful. It's like solemn.
Reminds me of Water Art a little bit. So I think there's some value of fighting this card in Frogs because it has a similar strategy to gadgets where you just get like consistent +1s. And similar to Water Art, you bring back your free +1, you set the Horn of Heaven, and that's just a free card that you contribute. And I feel like it puts your opponent in a really awkward spot. So I think it's just, like Declan said, it's just solemn. So I would feel pretty safe having this set with Treeborn, because how else are they going to out it?
Unless they like specifically brain control Treeborn, which is like rough, but it's like the end of the world if that ends up happening. Just probably other decks out there that could be utilizing this. I've been trying to tech it in Neospatians because a lot of Neospatian cards require you to have no monsters on the field, including Dark Creator, which requires you to have no monsters. So sometimes you'll summon Armageddon Knight, get your search off cross border, but then if your opponent's playing really passively, you won't.
That is something to think about. Basically, you have to run this with a card that does replace itself in some way, because if you don't, it is a 2-for-1. Just straight out.
Actually clear your board to be able to activate Convert Contact and stuff. So having this just additional way to clear your own monsters out of the way is actually kind of...
Man, Neospatians, where did that deck go? I don't even remember that card, that deck existing.
Who knows? There's a lot of decks out there. Probably should try out Horn of Heaven. Maybe just as like one or two of. So here's our first extra deck monster. This is Underground Arachnid, and I think it is one of the coolest effects in the entire format, but I think...
Yeah, I just realized I did not zoom in on this art. What in the Dark Souls?
Summoning condition is what makes it so freaking difficult to use.
True.
It requires a Dark Tuner and an Insect monster. And that's the big issue. There's not that many Dark Tuners. I mean, sorry, there's a good amount of Dark Tuners, but there really aren't that many great Insect monsters in this format. However, one of the best Insect monsters in this format is an X-Saber card. What's the guy's name, Albert?
Saber
Emmer's Blade. So Emmer's Blade is an insect. So I don't know, teching a Junk Synchron in your Saber deck, or teching a Gale of the Whirl in your next Saber deck to be able to out problem monsters without having to make Brio and minusing off your hand. This could be a card you could tech in. Junk Synchron can also have extra value in an X Saber type deck to target your own Yugioh not get its effect, but just have now look at that. You have 2 X-Saber monsters on the field. You can special summon 3 Golems. Like there's stuff like that you can do to make the deck work. I'm obviously cooking a little too close to the sun here, but I really think there might be a deck out there that can really utilize Underground Arachnid. Maybe not trying to
Maybe X-Sabers, maybe not. Something to think about.
just cheese it out all the time, but I don't know. If you can find a good insect, this could be a really strong card in the format. So this is Trident Dragion, which a lot of people know about because
Maybe if you have some way to use this effect multiple times. I think I tried to make use of it in a deck. Let me see, like spiders maybe. I had this idea of, oh god, I was trying to make use of Anteater Ant. Because this is technically 2 spell traps. So you can activate this, get the second sarcophagus, send them away for Anteater, and then if you don't have Anteater, you'll just hit the 3rd one and summon this dude, which is... Low-key, this dude is kind of good. The only problem is the effect is not great. It's like a Skull Servant card. Maybe it's the tech that Skull Servants are needing, guys. Copium. My idea was that because they use Curse of Anubis to let their cards to defense, summon Spooderman, get a plus. Why am I running Vortex Trooper? I guess I have 2 bricks. I don't want to see. I want to put those in the deck. Technically, they can be still used from hand, though. So, what else? I'm running 2 Dark Tuners. I don't know why I'm running this one. I'm running Krebons. Let's see. Got some level 3s, some level 4s. Maybe this. Something to think about. I guess, no, this is an Earth, so you can't reborn it with that 1 card. Some type of way to constantly reborn this card and then keep using its effect. I think that's something to think about. But I don't know, like, where will this card go? Will it go to the graveyard? Will it be banished? I guess it gets banished by Layer Wire if it hits the graveyard, but... Very goofy build I got here.
it went up in price because it was used in Modern,
Trident Dragon.
and it's used in Dragon Turbo decks, but not really. It's not really like the end all be all. It's more like a, oh, I have a Prime Material out and I have a Debris. I guess I can make this. And I think that's where I'm like a little disappointed because I think this card is insane. It can completely OTK on its
This card is diabolical.
own, and I want to see more people use decks that can turbo out Trident Dragon. Debris plus a level 2
Oh, I didn't
monster
realize his name is Trident Dragion and not Trident Dragon.
Limit Reverse. So Debris Dragon with a level 2 monster engrave and a Limit Reverse is Trident Dragion on the spot because you can make Iron Chain and then make Trident Dragon, pop the Limit Reverse, that's 6k on the field right there. And as long as you have another card, it's 9,000.
It definitely makes sense to try to utilize this card more. And a good rule of thumb with almost any card in Edison is if it's banned or played in Modern at all, then it's good enough to be played in Edison. This card was...
I think there was some type of combo I was thinking up of with Trident Dragon, but I just really could not be bothered trying to remember what deck I was trying to use this in. I'm gonna be honest. Maybe it was on a Dragon Turbo list. That's another deck. Let's see. Dark Magician Virus should be pretty funny. Let's see if I can find it. Fusion Dragons. Oh no, this is one I want. Let's see. Was I able to use this card? Ninjas, the Cope deck. Yeah, it seemed like this is a wackadoo deck that I made. Goofy. Bring out a big dragon, use Magna, make Trident Dragon. I think the fact that Trident Dragon can pop your own cards is something to think about. Because you could let your card effects pop your own cards. Yeah, this gotta be one of the only cards that can actually do that too. It's a card that's just allow you to pop your own cards. I think that alone is very interesting. I would say pop Gear Town, but the problem is you just need dragons for this exclusively. And Gear Town dragons, I've never heard of that. I'm just saying, guys.
It's broken. It was like $1 billion until it got reprinted. Now it's affordable and people can play it.
Yeah, and it's cheap. Try it out, right? Just try it out. Oh, so maybe you don't. Okay, next up. This is a quickie. Spell Striker. Look, Rhoda gets you Spell Striker. You banish the Rhoda that you used. I think there's a few decks out there that could utilize just that extra special summon ability that pretty, like, at this point, Spell Striker just also has a little added bonus of just poking for and stalling a little bit because you don't take any damage either. Yeah, I just think sometimes, like, see people running, like, Forgs, for example. I think Forgs is, like, the deck that comes to mind. Sometimes you just need to get substituted with another body, and if you don't have Fishborg immediately, Spell Striker could help you just, like, really aggressively turn 1. Whereas you can't really do that turn 1 unless you have 1-for-1 or you have, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do turn 1, but just an additional way to just turbo out multiple monsters turn 1.
Yeah, problem is card's been on my radar, Jester's Confident. It's quite literally a 0 condition, just I can special summon this for free from my hand. And it even has another effect, which could be used. I guess he doesn't have attack and he's not really as searchable. I'm 1-for-1 him. He's a dark. Dark is very popular. Spellcaster is not very popular, I guess. But yeah, kind of just anything. Shoot, I'm making a case for this card. I'd say it's underrated. have a way to protect it, get its effect. Maybe people don't really think about that much, but yeah, bounce something. You know,
Like Swiss feels like a pretty useful combo piece card for combo decks.
Yeah, extenders are good. All right, I'll talk about it.
extenders. Yeah, it's level 3. To be fair, I would say like let's go, but playing Beal's Frog is a level 3 to make Armory Arm. Yeah. Thing is, I've been noticing Edison format no link monsters, so it's like, can't really just be like, oh, extender's good. Yeah, good, but again, you really have to like -1 when you do things in this format. It feels like you don't really need to if you establish a good position. Like, I don't really care about card advantage if you just establish a lot of boss monsters. But it's like, would you set a recruiter and then tribute it for Kai's? You wouldn't. You'd want to use that recruiter to get Sengen and then tribute that for Kai's. You'd want to get Goblin Zombie and then tribute that for Kai's. It doesn't. Kai's in the field is great, but you really don't want to go straight up -1 to Synchros or do a tribute summon. The reason why Treeborn Frog is just so strong, you just turbo out a Monarch for free.
Spell Fragrance, because I hate this card.
Spell Fragrance, oh
Especially
man.
as we were seeing the combo decks come into play, Forks, Gigavice. This is my worst nightmare. Only really see it get decided in GBs, because they are kind of that deck to take
This card
advantage of
is very interesting. I can see it. I've been advocating for that one card. Let's see it. Yeah, Kappa. Target 2 sets. Let's say you activate anti-spell. They start setting all their spells. Target 2 of them, get a +1. You know, Warrior, it's searchable. Like, the prize factor enabling a flip monster is obviously the reason why you would not want to search it, but yeah, anti-spell. No anti-spell was used in like a stun deck with that one continuous trap that like 2 sets or something. Yeah, Zing, Zane, yeah, permanently contain 2 set cards.
Obviously, they don't play a lot of spells, and then
Contain
when
their
they go
sets
to-
until
you
it
have to set all
eventually
your
gets
spells, which is
popped.
bad for your deck. It slows you down, and then they can go Geysaris pop them. Anti-spell obviously really good in GBs, but there's a ton of other decks that like just play this card if they're just not running a high spell count, or they're more like down or control, hero beat maybe, like this hero beat that's like not.
I wish X-Sabers could potentially play this card, but they choose so many spells, I think. Don't quote me on that.
Fusions could slide this card. It checks off the box of this card is broken in Modern at some points. Definitely viable in Edison, as we're seeing Edison get more and more closer to Modern.
Dude, that's how I feel about it. It's like the more advanced Edison format gets, the more floodgates we just start seeing.
True, there's literally a part of me that wants a main deck rivalry, but I just can't because Black Wings. This rivalry is so underrated. It's so good, in my opinion.
In the format, and anti-spell is really good. I'm like at a point where, depending on the deck I'm playing, I'm considering siding cards like Twister, because in the past Twister was like narrow to be a useful side deck card, but if you're a deck like Frogs, for example,
I would put it in all my side decks just for oppression. That's just me.
and you lose to like bunch of floodgates like oppression, anti-spell, mask, skill drain, and it's just like there are so many now that you have to be worried about because things are just moving faster and the floodgates are the only way to really slow it down. But anti-spell, it's really annoying to see, and obviously it's a very good card.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more anti-spell as Gigavice gets more and more consistent and solid,
Man,
as Forks becomes a little bit more dominant. And yeah,
one of the two have cooked. I want to say Frog Combo has really been been the deck that I've been looking out for the most. It's just like they kind of things on turn 1. I know what it feels like. You can really just set up an annoying dude block, and then it's not necessarily like they will like off synchro on you next turn, so not really sure. All their spells out the way, maybe, and then Fragrance doesn't really do anything. Like the whole going second thing is really something to think about. That's why I'm thinking about rivalry, but like to be honest, in my rivalry decks, I might just lose to Frog B because Death Frog was a thing. I might just lose to that. I might just lose to Born and Monarchs. You know.
glad there's a card like this that can put
It's
them
hard to
in check,
main
because
deck
it
the floodgates. That's the problem, I think.
really does slow them down a full turn.
I don't even
Or-
see why this wouldn't work in like Wings, to be honest. It's just
Oh,
like
yeah.
a ton of like you go first. Like I feel like this is a card for going first a lot of the time, at least in my head. And it's like if you go first, you can still Whirlwind Shura and then set this, and then you're off to the races. You know, Black Wings are like for beyond the Whirlwind. They don't play that many spells unless they're playing books, but moons, which be set anyways. So, yeah, scary card. I hope it doesn't see a lot of play, but definitely underrated.
Also, shoot, man, I don't
Really
want to give people
hasn't.
ideas, but it's too late. It's in my brain, so it's coming out. Delta Force or Delta Crow, is that what it's called? Anti-reverse?
Oh yeah, Delpro.
Oh my
I
god,
know.
anti-spell
Um,
fragrance
Broken.
plus Delta Crow seems like a no-brainer. Like, go
It's so funny. Yeah, Bones has a lot of cards that they don't use. I think this card was used in 2010 in like a one top 8 list, I'm pretty sure. Quite funny. If you control Black Wings, sure, I'll face down. Even this effect is basically like, let's be honest, like it's kind of a good card effect. I'm just be honest. Like basically Icarus. I have Icarus, so it's like really want to use this card. Like kind of like, oh, if you set 2, they're kind of popping set 2s. You know, your opponent would really have to like commit into like setting all their spells. It's like, oh, they have anti spell. And this card, oh, they set 5 or something, and then you like 2, 3.
see the combo decks coming around. You're like, side in anti-spell fragrance, side in Delta Crow. They have to set all their spells, and then you just get rid of all of them. It's
That's like an edge
Yeah.
clip card because I think that card is crazy. That card.
There's this card called Eradicator that people, I feel like it's the next coming to deck dev. I'm gonna be honest. Is probably the unexplored card of the format right now. I do gotta say, because deck dev is obviously main decked a lot. It used to be side decked, it got main decked. And Eradicator is the next boy because he is that like the Eradicator is the true anti-combo deck card. Call spells, no more spells have been starting to become like stay away. I feel like it's really like if your deck can utilize spells effectively, it's really shows the speed of your deck. You know?
Play.
yeah,
Like,
Delta
one
Crow.
gets
You know
the
what? That's
heartbeats
gonna get a little
better than-
asterisk. Delta Crow anti-reverse. Why doesn't that see more play? It's insane.
Card.
Okay, listen up. There's not many good guardians.
Ooh, Asriel Summoner, bro. This card is gas. Yes, basically +1 is like, oh yeah, default. Something to really think about because I was trying to cope with Iron Core. This Iron Core is just not good, guys. It's just not good. But this can search Walking Guardian. It is like a lot of, it can search if you play a macro deck or like a deep fissure deck, you can search Guardian Iados. Can search, what is it? There's a win, so yeah, you can search all these bad Guardian cards. Guardian Statue, Infernity Guardian, which obviously is not that great. The best target's gotta be Akimaro though. Skull Guardian's kind of funny. Order is the cool one. The only sad part of this is the wind.
In this format, unfortunately, and a lot of the ones listed here are weird. Arsenal Summoner has a flip effect that can add a Guardian card from your deck to your hand. That's it. The other parts are just like the cards it doesn't, like you can't add these other stupid Guardians. Don't worry about that. It's a very short, simple effect. What Guardians can you add? Well, the most obvious one that comes to mind for a lot of people is Quackimero Guardian. It's a 1900 rock monster that has seen some play in Dark Gaia decks, but there's a lot of decks that have now been trying to tech out or tech in Guardian Iados, decks that are mostly like Max and Dimensional Fissure decks. Those decks, in my opinion, should have a little bit more of a consistency booster in the form of Arsenal Summoner, because if you have like a Fissure and an Arsenal Summoner here, out of nowhere you have the ability to just summon out a huge monster.
Time card is basically a flip Stratos and like I want to say Dark Samorg, but I'm not sure.
Turn. So I just think they're not great Guardian cards in this format, but searchers are few and far between in this format, and Arsenal Summoner, while very slow, is a decent searcher with good enough stats to not be hit by deck dev.
Yeah, a weird card. Like, I wonder
Being able to search a boss monster is something that is very rare in this format.
how Konami had to play around this card with like what they cannot name Guardian, because like there's something that's been printed in 15 years that's been a Guardian card that they're like, oops, now it's searchable by Arsenal Summoner. I guess it's just so slow for modern flip effect, but it's really funny that like the searchers don't really exist like this, where it's like not archetypal.
Yeah. Take it away. Black
Card.
Black
is
Garden.
broken, and it makes people's minds turn to goo. I think that this card is one of the cards on this list where it could just be.
This card is a pain to play on DB, I will say. It is just... I know in the RBET Chicago stream, this was a mentioned card of like cards when they were talking about that. We'll say that much.
So meta, but nobody. There's just like a handshake.
Yeah, the Monster Reborn effect is where it's at, I'll be honest.
Pushing all the Yu-Gi-Oh community to not make this meta, and the only one going against the grain is a friend of the channel, Raunek. He's proven that this card is broken. He's topped multiple events with black card in the main and in the side, even multiple copies in the main. A lot of decks cannot really deal with this card effectively if they don't have the out to it. It slows everyone down, and there's a ton of insane combos that you can do with this card by building around it with like mods that have attack points in intervals of 800. It's just one of the most complex cards in the game. We could talk about it. We could have a whole video dedicated to this. It has some of the most complicated rulings out of any card, so you really got to know your stuff with this one. Classically has been used with the Gear Town engine as just like hard to get off.
Something I didn't think about. Our monster in your graveyard equals the total attack plan monster. If it's not total or lower, it has to be the total. I think this card is very... I mean, there was that Black Garden plant control deck, Titanial Shenanigans deck. Yeah, I think this is like a pure control deck card, honestly.
Terraforming.
Or just Monster Reborn card.
I tried playing this card in zombie decks because it's like a crazy extender that you can
Zombies,
combine with instant fusion to get the Reaper on the Nightmare. That's an 800 attack monster. Being a frog player has cooked with this, but I think this card has more potential outside of frogs that like none has been willing to go yet. This card, if you were truly a dedicated master and you learned this card and you cooked and you made something that people were not prepared for, you would win matches, many matches off people just misplaying off you left and right, because no one's going to be prepared for this card.
I was that one, whatchamacallit, Wombo Combo, X-Saber, 60 card shenanigans deck. Don't know what that deck's about, I'll be honest.
Declan, tell us about your pride and joy.
Ooh, Ice Dragon. Actually, in an upcoming video, I might make an Ice Dragon. Well, it's not necessarily an Ice Dragon deck, but it is a deck that features Ice Dragon. Is hilarious. Yeah, card is a very fun card.
The Luchador Dragon himself, Dragon Ice.
Might be going a little too far to call it my pride and joy, but I just think that this card is really interesting when I learned the fact that, okay, you don't know, this card is like a hand trap.
Non once per turn, infinite special summoner, anti-OTK card, question mark?
Or it can be used in the graveyard. So if your opponent special summons a monster, you can discard a card to special summon this from your hand or graveyard. And the interesting ruling that I learned is that you can discard Dragon Ice itself from the hand to special summon it itself.
Yeah,
so
shout out to edisonformat.com and .net.
That ruling alone was just like, that made my ears perk up. Like, there must be something really interesting that you can do with this card. Obviously, we know that hand traps are good in general.
I just think that converting dead cards and just having a 1800 beater is something to think about.
Being able to interact with your opponent on their turn in a way that doesn't involve like they can just heavy your MST away. This card's a body is, I think it would be like a little more relevant if it had slightly better defense. Like if I couldn't get over it really easily. But obviously with Fishborg seeing more play, like it's a monster that can just special summon itself and then synchro with Fishborg. It can synchro with like Synchron to make 8s or 9s if you have Treeborn. So just like interesting card that I don't think a lot of people know that ruling. So if you didn't know, now you know.
That makes it actually kind of useful. Otherwise it'd be kind of like negging a lot, but if it's not a neg, like that body can be pretty nice. Yeah, who knows? Like a lot of decks that like have good generic waters. It's a dragon too, so shoot, like decks could run it too. Okay, later it's banned by the way in modern. It makes sense. Being able to with no limit.
UL decks have tried to utilize this. Cool card.
Summon a monster over and over and over again seems pretty strong.
This card is like a combo player's dream. We've seen people break.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just no link monsters.
Decks with it.
I guess not. Unfortunately, I don't know. Obviously, Edison is not modern, so.
Of like frogs, but I think it has more potential to be
Exodius.
And it's just kind of underexplored. It's also just known that it's like a dark, so you can send it off of like a night or like feed dark armed. You basically just need to devise ways to convert a body on board repeatedly. But if you can figure out some sort of way to convert this guy, the fact that he can just keep coming back with no limit, that's like Fishborg. And it took a while for people to realize that you could just break the game with Fishborg, but now it's been done. So I think it's only a matter of time before someone figures out a disgusting combo with level leader.
Hey, this card is an insect. Something to think about.
And also just that like attack, it doesn't seem like a lot, but sometimes that's all you need to go for game. You might just have like a big monster, not even that big, like 5 or higher is not that big of a deal. You just summon out level leader. Out of nowhere, you have 600 more attack than you previously would have. So Lightsworns come to mind as a deck that sometimes you just summon JD, but it's not enough. Plus level leader's game, like stuff like that. Like a deck, it's a card that could see more use, especially like at the Twilight type decks. It's a dark. Like they're like people main decking Crow just to fulfill their dark count. Bro, put in the level leader, man. See how it goes.
Nah, that's not the reason I would think of. I was just thinking it'd be a funny mill. say the other reason, but yeah, I feel like Lightsworn should play a lot more funnier mills like Shiny Black Sea, or this card is sure, maybe in Ultimate Offering Frogs you could like discard to like, they like Sphere of Chaos, and then you can like summon. This card is not really searchable, so it is what it is. Not really goes infinite, so I don't know why you'd need this as well, unless you want to do some like shenanigans.
Talk about some Necroface.
I think this is
Ooh, Necroface. Guys, I'm just gonna keep it so real. Fortunately, Necroface has found a home. I really feel like Fortune Ladies is like, you're playing like crazy like Inferno Tempest, or like maybe want to use this card in Zombies with like Cheatin' Doji, I think it's this card, to like draw a card. Like go out or something. You really think, or maybe with like Doomsday horror, and then there's a lot of dark monsters that like dark monsters from the graveyard. Put that up. Dude, King of the Shadows banishes one or more darks. Banish Necroface, banish 5, reborn it back, banish it again. But for Fortune Lady specifically, first of all, it's an alert target, which this deck does not have many alert targets. Has 1, 2 with this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Helps with alert targets. With Future Visions, if they summon into Future Visions, you can return it. You can obviously Sark it, banish Fortune Lady, enable your futures, and then in 2 turns get back your Necroface and have it like a 23 to 2400 attack beater. Multi-usage, very useful in this deck specifically. Banish their one-ofs, like their Gores, banish their Bestiari, banish. You don't want to fuel their returns or burials in value, but yeah. Really feel like in this deck, Necroface has found a home. Maybe in another deck. I don't know, maybe potentially with this card more. Who knows?
Underexplored card. Its effect is really good. Banish 5 cards.
I feel like I cooked, is what I'm saying. I don't have results right now, but yeah, I'll try. I said in the last video I'll try to go locals.
In your opponent's deck, there's a lot of ways to banish it. You can Gold Sark it, Allure of Darkness. If it's in the grave, you can banish Chaos Sorcerer, Dark Arm Dragon.
True.
You can
Chaos Orc is something to think about in this deck, I will say.
Make like a Twilight Fairy build and combo it with Escape from the Dark Dimension. Miraculous Descent can grab any fairy you potentially banish. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of ways to abuse this card that has not been fully explored yet.
I mean, I've seen people try to tech it into just different decks that want to banish stuff, like you said, like whatnot. Fortune Ladies came to mind. I was trying to break it in Fortune.
Oh shit, Fortune Ladies mention.
Fortune Ladies to get the Fortune Lady draw card going. Just a lot of really cool stuff that Necroface can do.
Man. I mean, yeah.
I've seen some people in Chaos Fairies run this because they can Dimensional Alchemist
whole like Egan wasn't playing Future Visions, but like put back their card that they banish off the Future Visions, they don't get it back. There's like really is not a card that interacts with banished cards like Necroface does.
Essentially, what Necroface does when you Gold Sark it is give you 5 whole cards that you can toolbox into with Dimensional Alchemist. Who knows? Necroface feels like one of those cards that has a ton of potential.
D-Alc, potentially another card that you could play in Fortune Ladies, I will say. Also, Card Trooper is something I've been thinking about, because it's just like, I'm playing Assailants and Cyber Dragons, so like around Future Visions, but also they're good on deck dev targets. But I'm really just starting to say, screw it. If I get deck dev, it's just what it is. I pray to have 7 tools. I pray to out it in some other way. Maybe I should play with Typhoon. I don't know.
Crazy shenanigans. And if you already are running Return from a Different Dimension or Burial, it kind of gives you the ability to search for some of these cards. And also its main effect when it's normal summon to shuffle all banished cards into the deck, that's actually pretty useful. Imagine you banished Mali for Mali's effect, and then you summon out Necroface after you've already used the Mali that you summoned. Now you can banish Mali and summon another Mali again. Something that I feel like even some hero decks could really utilize.
Necroface is at 1 in Edison for a reason, so I definitely think there is some unexplored potential with this card. So
I actually want to go back and look at what list put this card to 1, because I know people were limited to 1 for a reason, but I want to know what that reason is.
And now the final 25th card, Skill Successor, is a card that feels like a modern card. It's the first Breakthrough Skill-like card, and it's sad that Breakthrough Skill didn't get called a Skill Successor-like card because Skill Successor did it first. And its effect is just a battle trick. On your turn, when it's a trap, you can activate a monster gains 400 attack. And then when it's in the graveyard during your turn, except the turn that it was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target a face of monster you control. That target gains 800 attack to the end of this turn. So during damage step, you can
this card is super cool.
game. I've used it a ton in Chain Beat, so that's why I know how that can be, but I feel like other decks could utilize it. Also, the fact that it's a trap that you don't mind sending to grave is pretty cool too. So I think decks that run a lot of milling could see a lot of value in a card like Skill Successor.
True.
At worst,
Light
it's like
Sworns,
a
I guess.
armor sometimes for your monsters that would have been run over, and at best, it's a card you mill off Raikou, and out of nowhere, your monsters are a bigger threat than normal.
Yeah, the fact that you can get value out of this card twice essentially means like if you're able to win a battle with it first. And then
obviously in Winged Rhinos, it's like the most useful because the whole interaction with Rhinos is like, okay, I'm gonna swing into your, like, just say Sirocco. If you deprison it, I'm just gonna bounce. But as soon as we hit damage step, you're not deprisoning my guy. You got my discretion out. So yeah, as we reach damage step, you're not deprisoning my guy. So that's always an interaction that I really loved about Winged Rhinos. Now it plays around. It has that tricky interaction of like damage step effect. You think damage step effect is very underrated, very underexplored. You know,
battle in later on. I definitely think it's viable in like non-decks because like that they get their plus is by killing monsters in battle, and this card.
True. Also, the main reason I was trying to break this card was making your little monsters deck dev targets. Yeah. Win more idea, but yeah, I have a goblin zombie, banish for 800. May try to deprison your goblin zombie in battle phase for, you just deck dev, and then yeah, decks that could not normally deck dev be a deck dev deck out of nowhere. So that is something to think about. It's like my secondary thing. Like I was trying to use it in my tomato box deck. It's like suddenly I could use deck dev potentially. But yeah, another thing.
So that is our list of the 25 most underrated cards in Edison.
Yeah, so
if there's an underrated card that you feel like we didn't include, or you want to talk about yourself because you just personally love it, please let us know. In the comments
so
below,
interesting
we're always a fan
thing
of
that
underrated,
age
weird cards that we think could be,
Yeah, but W video. Interesting to see how it's aged. A lot of these, look, Edison is still somehow not fully solved. Or I guess not. It's not really surprised that it's not fully solved, but it's like these cards, they haven't been explored. There's a lot of cards that still have not been explored and really should. Yeah, there are a couple cards that I will be cooking with. I will be trying to cook. One more thing is, let's get this going. And let's bring up, I think you can, whoops. At the end of this video, I will be bringing up my card that I think is underrated in Edison format. And I think that could personally, like, be used in some type of deck. Yeah, Trap of Darkness is, if you play Modern, it is this format's rollback. And obviously it has a very steep requirement of having 3,000 or less life points. Pay 1,000, copy a trap. Obviously, the most popular traps are Mirror Force. This card skips costs, so you could literally just copy deck dev with no cost, copy Eradicate. You still have to fulfill conditions, but it's like skipping costs, something that needs to be really explored. Obviously, you'd have to run it in like a deck that pays life points, or a deck that you'd imagine is good at chipping itself down. I would say maybe gadgets, Solidarity gadgets, because they kind of have a life point buffer with their gadgets that just constantly get ran into, and it's like, okay, you solemn that turn, maybe you pay half your life points some other way, and then it very easily get to like the 3,000 threshold, and potentially take advantage of that 3,000 threshold with like cards like the Life Equalizer, which is very silly to think about. Yeah, see, I don't know. Yeah, discard traps with no cost. Yeah, but yeah, W video.